David, I just want you to know that you are a Knuff.
Is this a metal thing?
Yes. Little taste.
David, what is this?
Pretty thick.
Great.
I have to kill a lot of people. Just tell me what you want me to fuck.
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, Daddy.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers big tits. Mistletoe alert. This is back country.
This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Hugo be pregnant?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh, you're such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew.
Hoodie Picasso. Horror.
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk Plus. That's right, folks. We've now transcended genre boundaries and sometimes cover other movies. We realized that when it came to picking genres, we lacked diversity, equity, and inclusion. So make sure you rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Also, go join us on Instagram. We need more followers. Full videos are available on YouTube. Don't be a square. Be sure to swear. Be sure to swear.
They know what it means.
I can't even read.
They'll do it anyway.
Also, check out patreon.com/horror movie talk. It's the equivalent of the adult section in your video rental store. If you want to add your pee to the community pool, go to horrormovietalk.com or call 682-253-4468 and leave us a voicemail. As always, we have Fart Simpson crammed into the production booth. I'm me, and across from me sits Island Boy David Day.
Yee. Yeah, you know, I think I really like to give Fart something a little beefier to work with, you know, Fart Simpson, you know, and then he sounds cool. I'm just saying, I don't want to critique you right off the gate.
Well, you did. So we've got a great show today. As you can tell, we'll obviously be reviewing Oppenheimer. No, just kidding. We're gonna review
As you can see,
Barbie.
This is all going to be crispy in a minute. Melted plastic.
It's fantastic. So we'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie Barbie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. Later on, we'll be listening to our voicemail in a segment we like to call Horror Movie Whores. Okay, so Barbie can be found in theaters now. Barbie is about a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Life in plastic, it's fantastic. That's until she starts having intrusive thoughts of death and her body undergoes changes that are new and disturbing to her. Barbie soon finds herself on a journey leaving Barbie Land behind and going into the real world where she tries to solve the mystery of her psychological and physical changes. There is also Ken. So, I think we talked about it on last episode or after. I'm not sure if we talked about it, but I partook in the cultural phenomena that was Barbenheimer on opening night. I first watched the 3-hour-long Oppenheimer biopic alone, and then watched Barbie with my wife afterwards. Oppenheimer was good. It told an interesting story that conveyed an impressive amount of information, even for a 3-hour-long movie. Some would say too long. I would say too long. Barbie entered my head and has not left since I watched it the first time. I couldn't stop thinking about it throughout the week. I yearned to watch certain scenes again and consumed interviews with the cast and director to process the overwhelming spectacle that was Barbie. I'll stand here without any irony or shame and say that I think Barbie might be the best movie of the decade so far, and the best movie of the year without a question. Everyone involved was firing on all cylinders. The casting, acting, writing, directing, production design, music, choreography, all were perfect. All worked in synchronicity to create this unique spectacle of a movie that stands on its own as its own thing. Like it's one of those things where I judge a movie by the intention by which it's created, and I can't see any misstep here by anyone involved in it. There might have been one or two distracting things that we can talk about in the spoilers, but it doesn't distract from the accomplishment of the movie, I think. I was smiling ear to ear the whole time except when I was crying, which I was surprised by. My wife and I were rolling from laughing throughout, and it also goes surprisingly deep with existentialism and feminism. I watched it again last night, and even after hearing criticisms about it being unfunny or that it was woke propaganda, the second viewing only cemented my opinion. Yeah, I can't be strong enough. It's one of those things where sometimes I'm wishy-washy and get affected by other people's opinion or worry about how my opinion is received. This one, I'll stake the flag and say this is definitely a 10 out of 10.
Wow. Yeah, I'm interested because when we talked before and now again, I assume you watched this a second time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I watched it last night. So I watched it Thursday night, the opening night.
It's
night.
It's easy to get David jazzed about a movie. It's not so easy to get Bryce this jazzed about a movie. And I'm interested to know what's the real, like, was there an emotional catch that just snagged you and brought you through?
Several things. Like,
I noticed some things that I thought, oh, maybe this is what Bryce is really loving about this.
Honestly, first and foremost was the spectacle of it. Like, it just visually,
it's
just
insane.
Like eating candy. It's just like, and to the point, especially with like the musical numbers, it gets overwhelming, like emotionally overwhelming just to watch it. You're like, this is so much right now, and it's such a delight to watch. That like a lot of what I thought about like throughout the week was the first dance sequence, which it does not go long. It's like maybe 2 minutes, but there's just something about it. Like when you see just a great musical number to where you just like go back and you're like, I just want to see them move that way again.
Yeah.
And I want to see that set. I want to see that choreography. I want to hear that music. So that's like first and foremost, like that is like the headline of the movie. It's the same reason why people love Wes Anderson movies. Like it's a specific aesthetic that's very well pulled off.
Yeah. It reminded me throughout of like the 93, I think, Flintstones.
Uh-huh.
Like I was like, oh, this is so affected, but even more. Like it was just so, it's just so impressive what they were able to do with this.
Right. And it's one of those things where, you see the trailer and you're like, oh yeah, haha, that's kind of funny. Like I see what they're going for there. Like it's artificial, it's the Barbie land world. But when you sit through a whole movie and there's like 30, 40 minutes of the film being in this like artificial reality, you realize the artistry and like the historical knowledge that goes into creating that aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like there's a laundry list of films that Greta Gerwig used as inspiration. I haven't listened to the spoilers, but that's only like half of them that she mentions. So, that's first and foremost is the aesthetic and just like how fun it is to watch, how fun the characters are to watch interact, and it's funny. And then the other level of like the existentialism and like psychology of how messy real life is, like can hit pretty hard. and surprised me. So yeah, that definitely like took it up a notch. So yeah, I mean it's weird. I mean, it's hard to have a movie that I don't know why I'm tearing up right now.
Well, you know
I'm
what?
not that I think it's something. Someone's cutting onions. No, but I mean, like, it's rare that I get a movie that
It moved you.
moved me,
Yeah.
like aesthetically and emotionally, and like comedically.
It was
at
a
the same
moment.
time.
It was a moment. That's
Right.
beautiful. That's what movies are supposed to do.
Right.
That's the you're describing like the magic of the art form. And it
Right.
hit you and it took you and it did all the little tickles that it needs to do to make you like to reappreciate and love the medium.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
is so, I mean, we watch so many fucking just mid bullshit
I know.
nothings that when you
Right.
get something like, you know, There Will Be Blood or Barbie, you know, I'll say, so I'll go into my review of this whole thing. This suffered a little bit from, you know, it's just that overhype, you know, it's just,
Right.
especially when you came to me and were like, this is maybe the best thing.
Right.
And
right.
I was like, well, shit.
Yeah,
So, you know,
I probably ruined it for you, but
well, a little bit, but you know, there are other elements of this that were just, it was a little overwhelming. It was a very satisfying and interesting movie in a lot of ways. You remember when you watched the Lego movie the first time?
yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck? Like,
How did they do this with Lego as the topic?
right, like, what? And then you're sitting there with this problem of making a movie out of Legos in CGI, and you're like, wait, how and what? Like, what was the thing? It was a little overwhelming. So there were parts where I felt kind of old manny, you know, just sitting there being like, what? Like, what? Oh, you know, just old and just like kind of confused and a little irritated, but also like, what? How they do? Like watching a good magician do a magic trick, and you're like, I don't. I know it's fake, but I don't know how.
Right.
I'm
What,
gonna
like
go
what
think.
parts were overwhelming?
I'm gonna go think about this. One moment, I need to. Yeah, the parts that were overwhelming were, I mean, they did a great job of it. It's like walking into remember the Barbie aisle in Toys R Us, and
Yeah.
you'd walk into that thing and it'd just be like, oh, you know, you just be hit with that color, and it would and as a little boy, it was a different world, one that you weren't part of, you know, and you were just like, that is insane. And I'm going to go to the Lego aisle now.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's like, this is a detour, but damn, like, wow, that is impressive. Like the marketing effort levied against little girls is anyway. Yeah, so there were some overwhelming parts. There were also some parts where I just was reminded of movies that I enjoy more. One of them is, and this is kind of like, I think it really got me thinking about what movie I enjoy the most over the last decade, the last 10 years. You know, you said this is really like the movie of the decade, and definitely the movie of the year. And for me, there really hasn't been one. I mean, since number one, Hereditary was
Well,
impressive.
decade. I was talking about 2020s. So
Okay, well,
like
sure,
the
but
last
fair
3
enough. I took it to mean a different thing, and now I'm going to explain it. And the other one was Soul, and actually, I think this really took a lot from Soul. It is a very similar story in a lot of ways, and I just kept going, oh, this is Soul. Oh, this is kind of Soul. But that being said, it is its own thing. It's incredibly unique. It's well acted and interestingly written. And for those saying it's woke propaganda, you know, there's an element of that. But it's well counterbalanced it's counterbalanced in a way that would definitely make anybody who's sitting on the fence go, well, yeah, but they clip those wings at the end. You know, they like really, and the ending of this is so powerful. It is a transcendent experience. It's an impressive thing. And the fact that it takes any of the wind out of, you know, political or, I don't know. The whole movie's the whole movie's kind of a battle of the sexes, which I think which to me is a problem, because if you frame it as women against men or men against women, then now you have an enemy, and the enemy is like 50% of the world and the person you love. And so it doesn't really accomplish much, but it takes it and reintegrates the thought of, no, it's just hard to be a person, you know?
Right.
And that's what we're trying to deal with. And I appreciate it going to that place and saying, you know, it's not about this or that. It's just about being a person, you know?
Yeah. I
so,
I think people that have like that are saying it's a terrible woke movie or that Ken is the villain are like missing the entire context of the movie, which is like it explores feminist concepts and you know, existential questions within the realm of a very, very artificial counterpoint to reality.
Yeah.
And so it comes at it from a place of, and even reality is not reality. It's still like a highly stylized version of reality. So it comes at the topics or its arguments from a place of like very much a super hypothetical situation, and within that hypothetical, it's very fair.
Yes, and I'll say that that's actually this extremely hypothetical, extremely ironic / post-ironic bent of the script. This like tongue-in-cheek, in tongue, like narrative detracted from it for me quite a bit. I think that was the thing that was the hardest for me about this, was I was like, give me something to latch onto that you're not going to immediately undercut with some line. And they did that at the end, but the whole thing felt so just like nebulous, that and like self-aware, that it was just too self-aware. You know, I was just like, this is where's something solid for me to hold on to, and that's not the point of this movie. The point of this movie is to be like way up in your head in like Wonderland.
See, I think like I'd kind of disagree with that, because like I think it.
Well, you can't disagree. It's just how it made me feel.
I think it's very clear in its hypothesis, and like it states like what it's trying to say pretty clearly in a couple different points, and that's why it's like frustrating to people that people are criticizing it without like listening to what it's saying, which is, it's stated in America Ferrera's monologue of basically like how impossible it is to be a woman or to like live up to expectations that are contradictory. And then the monologue of, you know, the quote unquote creator in the end, and that basically that lays out that like all these concepts like the patriarchy and like these ways that you frame the confusion of life is all just used to try to make sense of what you're going through.
Right.
And it's like, so I mean, the concepts themselves, it's not necessarily trying to make a statement or a real strong statement about the concepts that it touches on. It's saying that it's commenting more on existence and the complications of life, and that there's inherent beauty in it regardless.
No, I agree with you. completely agree with you, and I didn't miss any of that. I'm glad they threw those 2 little chunks in there. What I'm saying is that is such a small but heavy-hitting portion of the movie that for the vast majority of the movie, I was reeling, just trying to grab a hold of something, just trying to find my bearing, just which way's up, you know? And for that, it was an unenjoyable experience to experience, because it's the vast majority of the movie is just like making fun of you, making fun of itself, making fun of society. Like, it's not serious. And so it was just a weird experience because it just felt nebulous.
Some of it, like what was most interesting to me the first time I was watching it was standing back and analyzing my reactions and being like,
yeah,
oh, this is telling me something about me, you know, because, you know, as a man, like, your character that you latch onto is Ken, you know, and like how they treat Ken throughout the movie can be confusing. It is like it's not like clear how Ken's going to end up. And the people that say like, oh, Ken is the villain of the movie is like, I feel like they didn't see the same movie. But in terms of like, you know, having a dilemma of like, well, what's Ken's arc and how is this all going to wrap up well where you expect it to? And, you know, as a man, you're like, well, you know, Barbie's going to see the error of her ways and love Ken, right? It's like, no, that's not. Yeah. It's not your story, Ken. Like, and so a lot of that is like, of what I appreciate is
it's Barbie and it's Ken.
Yeah. But just like, it's one of these movies that I appreciate for a strong perspective that I don't get to experience in my life, you know, of like, this is how, to a certain extent, this is how women think about their experience, you know, and like, it demonstrates like the contradictions and the you know, the catch-22 of what it is to be a woman, in a way that like to women it's like talking their language,
right?
And like there's a lot of knowing laughs and a lot of like stuff like that, and to me it's like, this is good for me to watch to be exposed to just this way of thinking or this way of like approaching these topics. And that's the type of like when we talk about like diversity in Hollywood or like whatever, so this is the type of thing that I want to see more of, which is the creators, the people behind it are the diverse people, and not just like, hey, we're going to put in a couple token ethnicities, you know, throw in someone with a disability and just call it good, you know.
Yeah.
You know, change the color of a character and be like, look, diversity, but change nothing about the narrative or perspective of the work, you know? Yeah.
No, there's so much that rings true in this movie. It's, yeah, I mean, and the perspectives are pretty spot on, you know, like, I mean, right. I can, you know, I'm objective enough to know that I would not be good. I would not be like well off as a person without my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Period. You know, and I knew that about myself from day one. As soon as I hit school, I was like, oh, look at all these beautiful little girls that I love, you know, mm-hmm. I love them, and I'd fall in love throughout my life. Mm-hmm. And I just knew that I needed that. And right. I don't know that that's the same. I don't know at all, but I get the feeling that For a lot of women, that's not the case.
Right.
But in any event, I haven't given this thing a score yet. I'm really sitting on the fence between an 8 and a 9. I enjoyed it. It was confusing and scary to me. It was also mostly there were parts of it that were just very confusing. But it was fun, and it was crazy spectacle. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anything so nuts. But I will say that I do enjoy Lady Bird, Greta's Lady Bird, a little more than this. I really enjoy Lady Bird a lot.
Yeah.
So, anywho.
Well, Greta Gerwig is a great director. Like, Lady Bird was fantastic, and I don't know if you saw her Little Women, but that was also super impressive as well.
I have not seen that.
Okay. Speaking of seeing things, are you seeing your life invaded by commercials while listening to Horror Movie Talk Plus? Well, you should know you don't need to. You don't need to have that in your life. You can take it out by going to Patreon and signing up at a certain tier that gives you early access to episodes without ads. Also, you can support us by going to horrormovietalk.com/shop. Also, check out our resident artist, Dustin Goebel, at DGOEBEL00 on Instagram. And why don't you follow us, too, at Horror Movie Talk on Instagram. I'm saying that because Max has asked me to ask people to join Instagram. If you want to leave us a voicemail, call 682-253-4468. Thanks again for listening. Let's get into spoilers. So what was the stuff that was confusing to you? Like, what was, like, when you say it was confusing, what was the stuff that you're like, I don't get what they're going for?
Well, most of it can be summed up by saying everything was made fun of. Everything. And so it just, until that third act, you're really not given a lot to hang on to in terms of, like, what's the thesis? A lot of times, I mean, that's why it's typical in a story to kind of get the thesis up front. And so until then, it was kind of like, where are we going? What's the, like, everything is not, there is nothing that is, man, I really got something in my throat today. Maybe it's a wiener. Is anything sacred to this movie? And the only through line was kind of like girls, like, you know, it was like girls are the through line, and so everything they said, it made me just be like, what? Wait, so that, or is that the, like, what, like, what's the point? And but it was hilarious throughout. I will say, hey, before we get too far into it, and you can respond to this, but you're looking good today. Like, your skin's just beautiful. Your hair is coiffed. Like, you've really matched the aesthetic of Barbie.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am wearing makeup, so
what?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you are today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been starting to wear makeup to kind of even out the contrast. It's really alarming if you look at old episodes. You're like, Jesus. It's like, I don't know why, like, your lighting was so superior to mine from the beginning, but, like, you look fine in the early episodes, and I look like I'm a red stop sign.
You know,
like,
you know what it is? Do you use soap?
Do I use soap?
Yeah.
Yes, I use soap.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the difference. I do not. I use soap on my pits and my dick and butt. I don't use it elsewhere on my body. And ever since I started doing that, which was maybe a year ago, my skin cleared up a lot in all the other places. I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, that's an interesting hypothesis, but for me, no. I literally have like rosacea, and I'm not treating it. So that's the reason
rosacea. Yeah. Although my grandma has rosacea, and it seemed like certain things brought it. I just think soap just makes your skin fucking super dry every goddamn day. You know.
I don't wash my face every day. Is the thing. Like it's not.
Hey, you know, look. I mean, it's just. It seems to take about a week to like really get the oils going. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I'm gonna catch some flack for that on the Barbie episode for saying I don't use fucking soap. But yeah, I think you know, I don't know. Give it a shot. I don't know. It's worth a try.
So the film opens up with just a straight up like copy paste of 2001 A Space Odyssey. Yeah. And in terms of homage, like they do it right. It's done like shot for shot. It's not like a cheesy thing. It's literally like
it's cheesy too though. It's
cheesy
brilliantly.
too.
It's crispy cheesy. It's delicious.
But it's so delightful because they pick the cutest little girl with glasses to do the monkey figuring out the tool role, and she just smashes like this teacup set with a baby doll, and it's just visually one of the funniest things in the movie, just watching this little girl's face go all in.
Yeah.
Like it was delightful. And you know, it has a narrator with Helen Mirren that basically sets up Barbie Land and Barbie's life as like, this is what Barbie is. Barbie represents all of the potential that girls can have, and it solved all the problems of women around the world since this product was created. You know, basically giving girls the imagination and the role model of the possibilities of what it is like to be what is possible being a woman. And you know, it's very tongue-in-cheek because to Barbie this is true, like that she's the hero.
Oh yeah. There are absolutes in Barbie world. Like everything in Barbie world is absolute. Everything.
That Barbie Land represents reality, you know, that you know, it's all
it's a mirror.
Women are perfectly empowered through product. And you know, to us as we're watching it, like it gets a chuckle because of course there's still you know problems surrounding feminism, you know. And so it's a great opening, and then it does this opening where it's Barbie waking up and she goes through her morning routine with just a great Lizzo song playing over it and commenting on what it's like to be Barbie.
Oh man, this was so
and it's
great.
Just like mwah,
delightful.
Just straight off great. And like you see how great that Margot Robbie is in this role. Like that is part of the delight, is watching her act like a plastic figure going through her morning routine when she like pours nothing into a cup and then she's drinking from the cup, nothing into her mouth, and just completely committing to this is reality. Like her reality is pretending, you know.
But like you can't be overstated. The first 15-20 minutes of this movie is, I mean, I'm not joking, is just saying hi. Hi, Barbie. Hi, Barbie. Hi, Barbie. Hi, Barbie. Hi, Barbie. Hi, Ken. You know, like...
Right.
It was just like, I mean, yeah, it keeps your mouth just like pinned in a smile, in just like a sick, sweet, just like they're saying hi again. Ken's life revolves around being noticed by Barbie. It's like.
So yeah, and then it introduces Ken, played by Ryan Gosling and others, but Gosling is the main Ken.
Yeah, Ken. I'm sorry to interrupt again, but if you sit through the credits on this thing, it's fucking insane because it goes like this. It goes, Margot Robbie plays Barbie, Issa Rae, Barbie, Alexandra Shipp, Barbie, Harry Neff, Barbie, Anna Cruz Kane, Barbie, Dua Lipa, Barbie, and then Emerald Fennell, Midge, and then it goes down the same list of people of males who's Ken, John Cena, Ken,
Right.
like it's credits you'll never see again.
Yeah, it is great. So Ken is introduced, and he is, throughout the movie, like this kind of weird, neutered, idealized version of an incel is how I analyze it, which is like Ken's whole purpose is to be with Barbie, and Barbie just doesn't give him the time of day at all. And so there's this yearning in Ken to like be noticed by Barbie.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's like Leave It to Beaver, but reversed. Like if the show was instead of shot in the 50s in the patriarchy of the 50s, was in the matriarchy of the 50s, where it's just like, you exist for our, like, that's right. You're a woman, like, you're like, like it's exactly flipped.
Right.
It's Leave It to Beaver, but about women.
Right. It's like Ken is like a robot that was created. Oh man, what is that? What's that movie where the robot is created for like one purpose but can't fulfill it, basically?
Wally?
Shit. Maybe it's Wally. Man.
The robot is.
I mean, even AI, like it's like you exist to love your family, but you have no family.
Is it her?
No, but basically, Ken he only exists to be Barbie's companion, and she just doesn't even notice him at all. He's
like just a side character,
right?
Yeah.
Which is great because that is literally what Ken is, in the product universe, where it's like no one cares about the Ken doll. Like It's literally just an accessory to Barbie. It's like an afterthought of like, oh yeah, I guess she, if we want her to have a boyfriend, here's the option. There's Ken.
Yeah.
It's not equal treatment. So that's very tongue in cheek about like the product Barbie of Ken's place in it. And it's really fun. Gosling plays it perfectly.
Oh,
like just
how much gear is that guy on? Holy shit. I've never seen somebody's body, like an actor's body, so transformed. When you see Christian Bale in, I don't know, any Christian Bale movie. Arguably he's his most ripped in American Psycho.
Yeah.
And he's ripped to, he's bulked up mostly. He's just bulky. I mean, what's his face? Ryan Gosling is shredded. He is zero body fat on him. It's unbelievable.
I mean, Ryan Gosling always has a good body. Like you can see, like if you watched Crazy Stupid Love, like he looked really good in that too. But this one, it looks otherworld. It looks plastic. It looks like a plastic doll.
And it had to be this way because the star of the movie is Margot Robbie.
Yeah,
which is, you have the perfect human, And then
Right.
you have, Ryan Gosling. And so it's like, who are you? Yeah, so Ryan Gosling did a really commendable job trying to live up to angelic perfection.
Right. I mean, they even towards the end of the movie, the narrator makes a comment of like, Barbie says, "I'm not pretty anymore," and then Helen Mirren chimes in. She says, "Note to filmmakers: Margot Robbie is not the actress to get this point across." Like,
It was like, this was the poor casting choice.
yeah, even like after she's spoilers, even after she enters humanity and is a real person now, like, it's obvious that they made a point to like make her look less perfect, or in the times when she's crying or at her lowest point, like she's supposed to be quote unquote ugly crying, and she's just still one of the most beautiful women in the world.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I mean, she still looks like Barbie. So, but yeah, Ken, I mean, for people that haven't seen Ryan Gosling, his comedy chops, like, you might be surprised at how good he is, but to me, it was like, not surprised. It was perfect casting.
Yeah.
Like, there was a guy at work that was like, "Yeah, I only know Ryan Gosling from like The Notebook." So I'm like, "Geez."
Really?
I mean, if you watch The Nice Guys or like his appearances on SNL, like he's got comedic chops.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he's introduced, and like one of the best parts of Ken is like, "My job is just beach."
His
like-
job is beach.
Yeah, he's
not-
beach. He's beach Ken. He's not a lifeguard. He doesn't know how to do that. He can't even swim. It's
Can't
like,
swim.
Yeah.
His job is beach.
yeah. And so when he goes into the real world, like he's like trying to get a job, and he's like he has zero experience or like knowledge. And he's like, "No, he's like talking to a lifeguard. It's like, "Yeah, like I'm really good at beach," you know?
He keeps making reference to beach
Yeah. And
as though it's a verb.
right. Which is like what those dolls are basically. It's like, "Oh, it's Beach Body Ken," or or whatever, Malibu Stacy or
Yeah.
whatever.
Lionheart Lisa. Lisa Lionheart.
So we're introduced to those characters. I'll say the one distracting thing for me, to where it was like, okay, this kind of like distracts from the point you're making about the artificiality of Barbie and like the artificial perfection of it, is there's I don't know how to say this lightly, but there's a trans Barbie and a fat Barbie, and it's just like, that is the one where it's like, yeah, it feels like you're trying to do like some tokenism in here just to say. But my wife made a really good point, especially about the trans Barbie, is that like Barbie and this world, they're not, like, Barbie's not a real woman. The main character is not a real woman. They're all a representation of women. Like, so it's all equally as artificial, which is an interesting way to look at that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, okay, it's not super distracting, but it was like, did we have to do that?
Oh, Hollywood had to do it. Are you kidding? Yeah, absolutely they did. Actually, the thing that kind of blows my mind the most about this movie is Mattel, like,
signing
off on all
Right.
this. Not just signing off, but like proudly standing by it, which just seems like it feels a little bit like a Hail Mary, It feels like we are up against our backs are against the wall. The company is going under or something. I don't know. I can't rationalize this movie and Mattel's sign off any other way. This should not be.
Well, I think like, yeah, I mean, it was really interesting hearing Will Ferrell talk about how he entered the project, where he got this script and he was like, "This is one of the best scripts I've ever read, but there's no way that Mattel is going to sign off on this. And they like told him, oh no, they've already approved it. Wow. And so he was like, well, geez. Because, I mean, Will Ferrell's character is the CEO of Mattel.
Right.
And, like, it makes a point of, like, this whole company is just run by men in suits, you know? And
yeah, the movie
like,
doesn't look terrifically favorably in Mattel's direction.
Right.
It's very kind of open-handed. It's just like, yeah, this is what it is. See.
So, yeah, I mean, to Mattel's credit, they get it. Like, they get the place that Barbie is in pop culture. And I think they understand, like, it's not rigidly about creating, you know, the perfect doll for little girls. Like, it also holds a place in, like, kitsch and, like, LGBT culture and, like, and just the world at large, what that brand means. And I think if you're a savvy company leveraging IP, there's only so far that you're going to get with the Barbie animated shows, you know, that are talking about what the character means to little girls. Like, this is a general audience's, like, commentary on the cultural impact of the product, which is more compelling and cements the brand as, like, more than just a product, you know? So yeah, on one hand it is surprising, but on the other hand it's super smart, obviously, because it's going to make more money than any other movie this summer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, oh, dude, it's been wall to wall sold out here. It was like the theater was packed. There were people standing. Like, it was like, what is happening?
Yeah, I mean, this is the second week that it's been running, and the theater was still packed when I went and saw it last night.
This is a movie to see in theaters. Like, there's no other way to see this movie.
Yeah, especially seeing it with other people, but especially, like, if you're a guy, seeing it with your wife or girlfriend is the way to watch this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Did Carrie go with you, or were you single?
We managed to find a babysitter.
Wow. Yeah. Even on the island. Impressive. So what did Carrie think of it?
Oh, yeah, there was plenty of moments. You know, there was plenty of moments where, you know, I felt some tears and I looked over and Carrie was feeling it too, you know? And she was laughing throughout. Like, it really worked very well for her. It worked well for me too, you know? Like, I say one of the other things that kind of detracted from it was the existential dread sort of angle. There's an element of, like, can't anything be like, oh man, like, I get it. Okay, yeah, everything's terrible. Oh no, but can we just have some? Can it just be kind of okay? You know, like, it's got to be in the fucking Barbie movie. You know, there's an element there of just like, okay, yeah, everything's bad. Okay, like, which, I don't know. That's the old man part of me. We're just like, I don't know why everything has to be terrible. It doesn't. But yeah, that was another part of this whole thing where it was like, but I like, our main character gives up hope, but isn't made to give up hope, you know, which is good. I appreciate that kind of hero arc, you know. It's just a good arc.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so yeah, we'll talk about the existential part of it in a bit, but getting to, like, a couple points, like, so it introduces everyone, and then Ken is like, tries to get Barbie to invite him over, and this part's in the trailer. She's like, "Oh yeah, you can come over tonight. Like, it's not much going on, just a giant dance party with choreographed routines, you know, and a bespoke song." It's like, cool. And so then it has this opening. It has this dance sequence, which is just one of the parts of the movie that I keep thinking about. It's just such a visual delight to watch. I don't know. There's something about, I don't dance at all. Like, it's not something I do or yearn to do. But man, there's something about watching people dance in a choreographed dance. I'm like, I get it, India. Like, I get it how you can't get enough of this stuff. But they have this, big dance sequence, and tells a little story with Ken trying to, angle himself towards Barbie, and just it's fun to watch. And then, like, as Barbie's dancing, she's like talking about how great life is and how wonderful everyone is, and then she comes out with like, do you guys ever think about death? And everything comes to a screeching halt.
The theater was dead silent during that part, and I was bellowing with laughter, and I immediately had to like go up, be like, because every head was like, like they expected it.
Yeah,
I don't know what it was. I just felt like that was the fucking funniest part of the whole movie.
Right.
Was like, it was this record screech. It was like, up until now, it's been fucking 15 or 20 minutes of just like sunshine and happiness. And I was like, when are we going to get into the interesting part? And then she's like, you guys ever think about death? And I was like, yeah, that was great.
So it has that. And then the next sequence is a reprise of the opening of the movie with her waking up, but all of a sudden she's like, it's not perfect. She's tired and things aren't going her way. And then the Lizzo song is adjusted.
It's like, you okay, like, girl? Like,
because like the Lizzo song is still commenting on what she's going through. And then one of the best parts, like the first version of the song, she's like spelling out pink, P, pretty, I, interesting, N, never anything goes wrong, K, cool. And then in the second version, she's like, P, panic, I, irrepressible thoughts of death, N, something else, K,
N-word,
death.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's great. And then Barbie starts like changing physically, like her tiptoe feet like go down on the floor, and so like there's this panic of what's happening to me, and that's when Weird Barbie is introduced. They go take her to
this is this is so perfect,
right?
Everybody has seen a Weird Barbie,
right?
A Barbie that's seen too much shit.
Yeah, so Kate McKinnon plays Weird Barbie, which is the Barbie that's had all its hair cut off, that's been drawn on, that's been played too hard, and its legs are just splayed out.
Yeah.
Like the only...
Why does she keep doing the splits?
That's the only way I can stand. So, and then this like, and then she basically lays it out like in a nod to the Matrix, which is like, you have a choice to make. Like you need to... There's like a rift between worlds, between Barbie land and reality, and you need to fix it. And you need to go and find the girl that plays with you to find out what's going on with her because something happened. And then there's a nod to the Matrix where she's like, you can choose. You can either choose the high heel and go back to your life.
I choose the high heel. Yeah.
I choose or the Birkenstock. And
that was.
Find out.
Oh man. There are so many moments in this movie that are just
right,
pitch perfect, just like that. It's like you choose the Birkenstock or the high heel, and it's like, I choose the high heel. It's like, no, you got to choose the Birkenstock.
So Barbie makes the journey to reality in like a great sequence of like going through, the mountains and. What is it? They go in a car, they go on a rocket ship, they go on like a snowmobile and like a camper van and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
And on second viewing, I appreciate it any more. So like one of the main things about this movie, like, is the artificial reality and the visual production, the production of the movie is super impressive and calls back to like old Hollywood, because Barbie Land is completely artificial. Like the sky is a painting, you know, like all of the sets and stuff are artificial. And so it's interesting watching interviews with Greta Gerwig about the inspirations for the movie, because there are a lot. Like, she's very well versed in cinema, and she talks about several movies. I've got a list of some of them, not even all of them, but like The Wizard of Oz, like it's very reminiscent of The Wizard of Oz, in terms of like what the look of it is.
Yeah.
There's a certain director, I can't remember his name.
I wonder how she vocalized that. Like, the visual, just like the way the movie looks is like The Wizard of Oz. It's just like, it's the way it's maybe it's the camera they use. I do not know. But that moment when it becomes colorized is like, that's this. Like, she was just like, you know, can we capture the essence of that moment when it goes colorized in The Wizard of Oz?
Well, she mentioned specifically talking to the director of The Truman Show to like, how did you get it to look so artificial when it's real? Mm-hmm. And like, so she actually, I mean, like, she's a student of cinema. Like, she was really researching these movies of like, where am I pulling stuff from? And she has a laundry list of movies, but the fact that she asked like the director of The Truman Show and got like tips on lighting, like I think they said they would shoot, I think The Truman Show, what she learned was they shot in Florida, and so it's already super bright, but then they also lit it with super bright, like, you know, Hollywood lighting, to where it's probably super hot, but it's like so well lit and so flat, you know, that it looks like this doesn't exist in reality.
It's
a
lit
lot
from
of
every angle.
Yeah. Like, a lot of like, old musicals, old like French films. Like there's the, Playtime is a movie that has been mentioned recently, where it's like a lot of the scenes in Mattel are kind of inspired by that. But just so many inspirations for this, to where like on the second viewing, you're like, all of this is real. None of this is CGI. They built and painted, and like when they're going through, you know, the water and the boat, like that's all, you know, wood panels going back and forth and like spinning stuff, and it's like, it looks so cool, you know. It doesn't it's like a visual language that you don't see a lot. And I think that the closest you get in the last like 30 years is Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson does this, but even that is like,
I was going to say I would go to Wes Anderson, and his response would be, make it all symmetrical. Like,
right.
That's unnatural to look at, and also interesting. But also he does the same thing with lighting. He does light it from all the angles.
Right.
He makes
I mean, Wes Anderson is more of like, I mean, it's very similar. Like, he's trying to make it look like a dollhouse at all times. You know, it's like very, very flat framing. You know, very symmetrical.
If it's not a dollhouse, it probably is.
Right. And then Barbie, it's more of like, no, it's more of a traditional, like, we're making a place, we're shooting it like a movie, but it's all created, you know. So it's a really, like, it really separates, you know, the Barbie land from reality. So they make their way to reality, and they end up on Venice Beach, which is its own little commentary. But there's a great moment where, you know, Barbie is realizing, like, this place is different. And the interchange between Ken and Barbie, as Ken is realizing, like, this place is awesome. Like, men are like high-fiving, and people are noticing me, and they seem to respect my presence here.
He's just enamored.
And he's like, and there's no undertones of violence. And and Barbie is experiencing like
The exact opposite.
being ogled and like being seen as an other and being seen as an object and being like, and then she specifically says like, yeah, I'm definitely experiencing undertones of violence, you know, which is like, if you talk to women at all, like you realize like, oh no, they're always feeling like they're in danger around men. And
Yeah.
to be honest, they are. Like it's pretty, it can be pretty scary when you don't know.
Biological realities exist, and they're not set up in your favor, like in some respects. In other respects, like you know, it is a that moment in the movie is just it's an amazing insight that's all just kind of laid out very flatly that no one can really, like, you know, you can't really take issue with that.
Well, yeah, and it rolls it out like through the next like 10, 20 minutes where it's like Ken slowly realizing like, wait a minute.
What is
like,
this place? Why is it so special to me?
Yeah, it's because it's a complete counterpoint to Barbie Land, which is like Barbie Land is supremely artificial and is only exists for women, really. And Ken are like men or Kens are afterthoughts. And in reality, like all of a sudden, like it's a world built for men, basically. and like it's a good place to be as Ken. And the rest of the movie is basically the effects of that realization that Ken has in terms of like the plot. So Ken learns about the patriarchy and like reads up on some books and takes it back to Barbie Land. And then when Barbie eventually returns to Barbie Land, it's been converted into, you know, the Kendom, which is just like, you know, the comical, you know, counterpoint to Barbie Land. It's not reality either. It's not even like it's Ken trying to mimic the feelings and like the structure of reality, but not really understanding it either. And somehow like all the Barbies buy in because they've never experienced it either and like are able to be sold on it.
Yeah,
And
it's very much like the G.I. Joes from Toy Story. You know, it's just like, we're kids' toys. That's what we do. We emulate all the points of masculinity. Like,
right.
That's what we do. Like, it's what we were built to do, you know?
Right.
Like, and that's kind of the things he picks up on, which is like, horse, you know?
Yeah, because he's like, I learned about the patriarchy, which, from what I understand, is about men and horses running things.
What I thought was, at first I thought the patriarchy was horses, and then I learned that that the horses were an extension of patriarchy.
Right. The horses were were men extenders.
Extenders.
Which is great because if you think about it, like,
Men
yeah,
extenders.
if you look at all the statues throughout the world, it's men or men on horses. You know,
Men
these
extenders.
historic leaders and stuff, and that whole thing is really funny, and like that's what's so comical to me of like people that have issue or like the pundits, like the YouTubers that are like immediately came out with like, oh, you know, Ken's made the villain and this is just a, you know, a misandrist movie, and it's like you miss the whole point of the context of who Ken is in this movie if you say he's the villain. Like,
No, I don't think...
the same thing with
I don't
Barbie
think
is,
anybody miss... Like, if you watch the movie, I don't think you can miss the point of this movie. You can just realize that it's made to break down the war that you're trying to perpetuate.
right. Yeah, because, I mean, both Ken and Barbie are artificial. Like, they're both as artificial and innocent. And
absurd.
And
Yeah.
they're kind of victims to being exposed to a new reality and react in different ways. So, like, that's interesting. Barbie goes to Mattel, and like that's a whole weird like sequence too, because it's also kind of showing that corporate culture or the corporate world is just as artificial as Barbie Land. Like, it feels just as artificial of a world, and absurd. And then she eventually finds her owner, which at first she thinks is this little girl that she sees in visions, but it's actually the mother of the little girl that's been playing with her the whole time.
Oh man, those parts, every one of those parts, I was beset with emotion.
Yeah.
I could not, it was like, cause you think, I think of my little girls, and I think about the innocence of childhood and kind of how you've lost it, and how they still have it, and you want to cultivate it and give them hope. And I think that's a part that made me sad about that little girl in this movie. Well, she was a little girl. Granted, she was a tween, but she had lost that. She no longer had that innocence, and it's an important part in everybody's life, but it is a sad part. When the world gets you. Everybody can kind of look back and go like, yeah, the world broke me there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you lose your innocence or like come to a realization of how things actually are. And that's really, I mean, that's kind of the main message of the movie, what it eventually gets to. And it tips it off early a little bit when Barbie is sitting alone. I think it's after... Is it after she meets the little girl or before that she's sitting in that park? I can't remember. I think it might be after.
You're going to have to continue explaining the scene.
She's sitting at like a bus stop bench, and I think she started crying. Like, it was the first scene where she like had some tears or something.
Yeah, it was that little girl made her cry.
It might be before. I can't remember. But there's this sequence where she's just sitting and taking
one tear
and taking the world in. Like, she's looking around at reality, and she's seeing, like, first off, like, just trees. Like, the camera pans up these trees, and where it's like the complicated, like, random beauty of trees, which you realize, like, she's never seen in Barbie Land. It's all artificial trees that are perfect. And then, seeing people struggling in relationships and seeing, different types of relationships and, depictions of people at their lowest point or highest point, and then, like, turning to the old woman next to her and being like, "You're beautiful." And she's never seen an old woman before, no depiction or reality of aging or complication. And so it's the first glimpse of, like, the point that the movie's trying to make is that, like, all of this messiness is also beautiful.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this artificial perfect world of Barbie Land. And then that extends when she finds out who, is her owner, played by America Ferrera. And they eventually all travel back to Barbie Land and discover Kendom. And then eventually it gets to a point where, Barbie's kind of lost hope because Barbie Land's been taken over by Kens, and she doesn't understand, like, what happened or how she can change it. She's just hoping that someone else, in control will change it back. And then America Ferrera and her daughter, like, almost leave, but then turn around and basically say, like, no, we have to help, like, because they understand reality, or they understand, like, the struggle that needs to be made, basically. And then there's this long monologue that America Ferrera gives about how impossible it is to be a woman and all these contradictory expectations and like, here's I pulled it from IMDb. Like, you know, you have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. You have to be a career woman, but you also have to be looking out for other people. Like this laundry list of all these like catch-22s that really do exist. Like it's that's one thing that like I can admit that like it is. There are a lot more contradictions and societal expectations that are put on women versus men. Like, because
I don't know.
In the end,
this is the trap that I think a lot of people are going to fall into when they watch this movie. Is especially men, is they're going to be like, it's equally hard, just in a different way, to do my thing.
right,
But this movie is about Barbie.
right,
It's not about men. You know, there are movies
right,
about the incredible, insane expectations placed on men. Things like being expected to go and fight and die in wars, being expected to be kind and yet also always the you know, the law, you know, being expected to be capable of violence but never use it, and the expectation of, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of these ridiculous expectations exist for everyone. Mm-hmm. But this movie is called Barbie, so we're not focusing on those. So
right.
that's the trap. There it is. There's a ditch on either side, and you're going to fall into it if you forget that the movie's name is Barbie. So
right, and
keep
also
that
like,
in frame.
and also it's important to hear and understand the
Both
perspective.
sides. Yes.
Right.
And it's important to respect, you know, the struggles that we all go through in life as people. Because, are they different? Yeah. Are yours unfair? Mm-hmm. Are mine unfair? Yeah. Can we all just take a break and just recognize that and be nice, you know, like for just a minute, instead of like making it about like a war of the two basic people that exist on Earth? I don't know.
And her monologue ends with basically her saying, "I'm just so tired of watching myself and every single other woman tie herself into knots so that people will like us. And if all that is also true for a doll just representing women, then I don't even know." And so it's like setting up this like, yeah, it is impossible. Like it is a struggle. And then it gives an answer to that in the end of the movie, which is kind of a reprise of that bench scene in reality, where it's Barbie understanding the complexity of reality, that like, and kind of like that thing where it's like, oh, having thoughts of death, you know, you can look at it two ways. You could look at it as like, well, that's terrifying. Why are you bringing this darkness into like this story and like making me think of dark things that I don't want to think about? But when it comes down to it, you know, some of the happiest people or happiest cultures like regularly think about death, and it gives context to life. Like
Yeah.
if you take in the whole, it adds more meaning to the complications and the confusion that you have just being a person.
Yeah,
you know,
the finality of it is what makes it special. If you lasted forever, nothing would be special. It would be Barbie Land. It wouldn't change.
right.
It would be the same all the time. And that's tragic.
So what happens after America Ferrera gives this monologue, she kind of helps one of the other kind of brainwashed Barbies snap out of it. And they realize like, oh, this is how you combat, you know, this version of patriarchy, is you basically present the complexities of life and, you know, get people to understand in context of, you know, of all that, like, you know, your place in it. And so they go around and there's like a sequence where they, you know, basically unbrainwash all the Barbies, and there's a lot of like really funny parts where it's like, this is how we'll distract the Kens. And it's all like, just mention The Godfather and how you've never seen it before, and they'll divert all their attention to you and tell you all about it, or just have them sing this Matchbox 20 song to you.
I wanna push you around.
Oh man, that is, on second viewing, it's even more pronounced. Like when Ryan Gosling is singing that Matchbox 20 song on the beach, like he is barely holding it together. Like they cut it out. They make the cuts like like a 0.0001 seconds before he breaks into laughter on so many of the takes, and it's very obvious that he's just barely holding on.
Yeah.
How funny that scene is. And then basically like the Barbies pit the Kens against each other and like retake Barbie land and reestablish their Barbie constitution or whatever. But there's this probably one of the best song or musical sequences in the movie is the I'm Just Ken song, where it goes from Ken singing about his position, and then it like transitions into this weird like ballet within a ballet, ballet within a musical sequence, and it's just a very satisfying sequence. And then it ends up where like, okay, the dust has settled, like Barbie Land's relatively back the same to what it was, but it's changed. It's very much like a hero's journey. Like Barbie and Ken both experience kind of a hero's journey, but also Barbie Land, where it's like they went through a change, they came back to where they were, but they're still changed. Like there's no going back to exactly what it was before. And like that's where they leave Ken, is like, no, like you don't get Barbie. Like Barbie still doesn't love you or care that much about you in particular, but you don't have to be defined as in relation to Barbie. You can just be Ken. You can just be yourself and be your own thing. And so in terms of like Ken being the antagonist of the movie, it's very much, he's treated very compassionately in the end, of just like him learning the same lessons that Barbie does, really. That like he's got to be his own person, and he's got to exist within reality and find his purpose himself. And then like it ends up, and Barbie like doesn't feel like she can go back to being just Barbie, and then she has like this moment with her creator, and it puts a stamp on what the hypothesis for this, because they mentioned specifically like a lot of these ideas like patriarchy. I can't remember what the other examples that they gave, but they gave a couple examples of like all these things that we use to identify, what we're going through, is just like they have no meaning other than trying to help us make sense of our life. And that's like where the beauty is. And it enters like a very Zen place where it's like, this is where the beauty of existence lies. It's accepting the randomness, accepting the imperfections, and just being okay with being yourself, within chaos, basically. And then it has that last song, which is just like from, I think it's Billie Eilish, which is also just devastating because it has like clips of, women and girls just living their life.
Is this during the credits?
No, it's before. It's like when she's talking with, what's her name? Ruth. And she's deciding to be a woman. She's deciding to like be a real person.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I remember now. Whew. Wow, I blocked that out. That was 8 hours ago.
The song is basically what was I made for.
Yeah.
Ugh. It hits hard.
for those of you who've been listening for a while and enjoy the podcast, you might consider heading over to our Patreon and subscribing to listen to some of the afterpods. The more recent ones have been pretty interesting. Horror Movie Talk is going through a bit of an existential crisis. And, I mean, I'm curious to know, like, you know, the last afterpod we had, you know, you were dealing with essentially this issue. It's like, well, what was I made for, you know? You kind of asked some existentially terrific questions.
Yeah.
Was this movie a part of, like, starting that feeling within you, or
No,
just
I mean,
accentuating it, I suppose? Is a better question. Did this movie really accentuate those feelings for you?
No, because this is like the mode that I've been in for probably the last 20 years. Like, it's not... This is, like, the struggle.
Yeah, but did
And
it
so-
bring it to the surface, I guess?
For me, it's always on the surface. Okay. So, I mean, it spoke to it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it like was like, oh yeah, it's made me start thinking about it again.
Right.
No, it's like, I mean, it's the same. I mean, I'm sure you're the same way too. I mean, that book that you had me read, like, it deals with all this too. You know, it's all like,
I didn't have you read it. You just read it.
well, you gave it to me and said, please read this. So I mean, however
when?
you want to phrase it. You
Long
bought it
ago?
to me. You bought it and sent it to me on Audible.
Oh, okay.
So I read it.
I see.
I fake read it. I listened to it.
Well, I just gave it to you. I don't know. You don't have to.
Why is that a?
Well, I don't want to compel you to do things. I
Why
don't
is
want
that a
it to sound-
contention? that
I
you're
just don't
asking
want
me
it to
read
sound like
something?
I forced you to do something. I just handed it.
That's okay. I didn't realize that was a worry of yours.
Oh, I just don't want to. I don't want to make you do stuff you don't want to do.
No, if anything, you're trying to make me watch Deep Space Nine, and that's just never going to happen.
Wow. That's such a strange stance to take. Anyway, but
So it's just a really beautiful ending, and then the last line of the movie, to me, was probably the best joke, and just like chef's kiss. And I'm almost hesitant to say it for people that haven't seen the movie, but this
don't.
this is the spoiler section. But yeah, just the last line, the first watching, like, I was laughing so hard. Like, it was like when you see comedians give like their top bit, you know, where there's a pop in the audience of just something so unexpected, like, but so obvious.
yeah.
Like, of a setup, like it's set up perfectly, and then just that happened for me, and I was laughing so hard. I have no idea if anyone else was laughing.
Oh,
at
it was a strange reaction in the theater. It was like it was a 2 Mississippi before the laughter hit. Like, no one, like, it was a slow fused joke. It was like, and we're there.
Yeah, I mean, I stopped and listened to it last night when I was watching it again, and like, it did not get a pop. Like, it definitely got chuckles, and people were laughing about it. And yeah, I think it was the same thing where it took a second for them to realize. But for me, it's like,
Yeah, it was immediate.
how do you just put the cherry on top of what it is to be a woman in reality? Like, and going from being a plastic doll to being a real woman. And like, they almost avoided that topic almost entirely. There was one other line that kind of betrayed it, but like, there was a lot of obvious jokes you could have made about Barbie that they held off on, that I feel like the reason was they wanted to save that line for the last line of the movie.
I will say, this movie, while spectacular, well made, interesting, important critiques on life, on, you know, the human condition, along with, you know, Transformers, not as much, Lego Movie, you know, makes me a little worried about the complete and total corporate overlord insinuation into everyday life. Even the deepest, most important existential questions will
Are
be
analyzed through Barbie.
will be analyzed through a fucking toy. This is truly late stage capitalism, and I like it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it's like you got to work with what you got, and what you got is
Weird.
corporations and product.
Right.
Like I
you
mean that
are the product.
that's what's crazy is that like this is going to be one of the most successful, very unique movies in the last several years, but it's also an IP.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about like
Not just
the only
any
thing
IP, like an IP that is as American as apple pie. You
Right.
know, it's
so when they talk about like all Hollywood is doing, like all Hollywood doesn't have any creativity or vision anymore. All they're doing is sequels and licensing IP.
it's weird.
and like making video game stuff. It's like it's frustrating because that's true, but also we got Barbie out of it. So you
and
know,
Lego movie, like,
and Lego movie and the Marvel movies are great. Like
by
it's-
the way, like we'd be remiss to say, like, is Will Ferrell is he the
I know,
arm?
it's-
Is he the corporate arm of all IP movies?
right?
It's-
Yeah,
Things
it's,
are. This is what a fucking reality we live in.
Yeah, it's a hoot. It's a great movie. Like, I was delighted. Like, again, I'm going to be thinking about this movie for a while. Like, it's a heightened reality and just a delight visually and story-wise and thematically wise. Like, it is compelling on its own.
Oh yeah,
Like it's a, for how artificial and like tongue in cheek it is, it also has a lot of depth. So I'd recommend pretty much everyone go see this movie.
agreed.
Okay, let's move on to horror movie whores. Okay, horror movie horrors is where we check our voicemail, and we're trying to muddle our way through. We're still about a month and a half behind, so this is back in June 15th.
Hey guys, it's Michael from the Commonwealth of Virginia. I hope you're doing great. Just finished listening to the Event Horizon episode and really enjoyed it. I think was it Garrett? Garrett was on there, and I really appreciate how you guys can very much dislike a movie, but we'll still review it. And we'll have people on also that like the movie and have their reasons. And I liked Event Horizon when I saw it. I still enjoy it, but I think it's neat to hear different opinions on it and the way you guys explain it and stuff like that. You see stuff that I just would never see. So really had a great time listening to that. First time calling in, just been listening to the podcast for a few months, but having a great time. So Brian, John, thanks a lot, and looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, thanks, Michael.
Yeah,
From Virginia.
We didn't even mention Alan. Michael.
Oh, yeah,
Cera.
we didn't mention Alan and Michael Cera.
Oh my God,
There was a great line
the
with
best
Alan.
character in the movie.
Right. My favorite. That was also one of my favorite. I had a bunch of lines written down that I haven't even said, but Alan's line of like, Allens have been in the real world before. No one's noticed. In sync, they're all Allens. Yes, even that one.
Yes, even that one.
Yeah, Event Horizon, that goes a ways back, but I'm always like befuddled by how much love Event Horizon gets long term, and how everyone says it's just the greatest movie, and it's like
It hit
I get
the
it.
right moment.
that you want. I think what people love about Event Horizon is the movie it's trying to be, and not the movie it actually is.
Right. No, yeah. Well, I mean, what they really love is what is the experience they had going to the theater with their friends at 13.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Period. Like, admit it. That's what happened to you, right? Okay, now admit the rest.
Just look at Lawrence Fishburne's acting and ask yourself, is this really good? Anyways.
Hey, Horace. It's Edby. First-time caller. Long-time listener. Anyways, you know. So I just called your number a minute
We
ago.
know.
And instead of 682, I dialed 628. And it directed me to some pest and rodent tree removal / airline booking company. So, I don't know. It was really weird, and I thought it was a joke. And
What's your
I
point?
was almost turned off by the whole thing because I'm an idiot. So, thanks, dyslexia. Anyways, I just got done watching your movie. No, I just got done watching the Dashcam movie, and holy shit, I love that so much. I don't care what they say. Great movie. So now, like, tomorrow I'm probably going to listen to your review about it at work, as one does, as I do, as we do. Us whores, that is. I also wanted to ask you guys, did you get my Christmas present that I sent last year? / did you even know what it was? It was pretty vague. I'll give you a hint. Peach fuzz. What if I told you I was a naughty wolf?
Did he send you the peach fuzz mask? I thought that was Glittercore.
No, I thought that was. I thought that was Anna.
I think it's Glittercore. I don't know. I can't remember.
Well, if that was Eddie,
so it
wow,
was
that's.
him? Who?
Yeah, I'm confused. I swore that was Anna from Finland.
You're going to
that
have
sent
to be more specific because we receive so much fan mail and presents. You know, like it's overflowing.
Well, sorry, Eddie. I thought we thanked the right person, but thanks for sending the peach fuzz.
Is that? Well, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. We got a couple.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of which, did you ever send my credit card to me or my debit
No,
card?
I haven't yet.
Oh, okay. I was
It's
like,
sitting on my desk.
okay. I do need that because that could have paid for this movie.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, it goes on for another minute and a half, but I'm sorry, Eddie. You're kind of rambling. Buddy.
Yeah, you're rambling
You gotta keep it tight.
Yeah, build a script.
Yeah.
Hey guys, this is Beatrice again from Los Angeles. Hope you guys are having a good day, and thank you for not mocking me when you recorded or when you displayed my last voicemail. And I got cut off because I didn't realize you could only record this for 3 minutes. And I remember that day, and I was talking for a long time. So that's why I got cut off. But yeah, you guys are awesome. I was listening to the your last episode, this old way, the Nicolas Cage, and like I said, I was never gonna listen to a podcast episode for a movie I hadn't seen, but I'm not honestly gonna watch this with Nicolas Cage, whatever. So, but I did want to comment on that last voicemail. The chick was saying that she cut her labia shaving, and then I know that David's always been like, yeah, it's all about the bush, and so I want to comment on that. So, the love of my life, who is my ex, we...
Tragic.
Just got to say, she's like recording this voicemail in the center of a
roundabout,
while like having her cat juggle her phone inside of a fishbowl, I think.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Beatrice, we love you. Find a secluded place and put on some some earbuds to record these. I could barely hear you.
Unconventionally, I love him, but he's an hour and a half away. He's got his own shit. I'm trying to get my own life back too. Anyways.
Well, I want to hear what she's going to say.
And I promise there's a whole point to this. We met in rehab, and, we took a liking to each other, and I snuck him notes, and then we started taking kisses. I was only there 2 months. And, we're talking about, meeting up afterwards, hanging out. We really liked each other. And he tells me very, he doesn't want to ask me at first. And he was like, do you shave? And I was like, I'm being talking about my legs. And I'm like, yeah, of course. And he's like, no, I mean, down there. And then I'm like, oh, well, I haven't in a while, but I normally do. And then he was like, okay, well, don't. Just don't, please. He prefers all natural and whatnot. And I was like, yes, I hit the jackpot. To me, I'm so lazy. So, yeah, I think that maybe that's why I'm, so in love with this person. Because, he prefers that. And I could just gives me permission to be super lazy. So, anyways, I'm coming up to my 3-minute mark. Thank you guys for just putting on an awesome show. You guys are talented. Talk to you later. Bye.
What did she say? You got something out of that?
Yeah, well, she was commenting on Glittercore's last voicemail where she said she laughed so hard that she accidentally cut her labia when she was shaving.
Uh-huh.
And so Beatrice was talking about how she found her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend through...
Ex-boyfriend who is the love of her life, which is tragic.
The love of her life. That basically told her to stop shaving down there because he likes it all natural.
Me too.
That was the point of that call.
Well, I'm glad we listened to it. Thank you, Beatrice.
Beatrice, if your aim was to get us to think about your bush, mission accomplished.
And I probably like it, so good job. But also,
I just
let's brief it up a little bit. You almost hit the 3-minute mark. Come on, these are amateur calls here.
Okay, let's move on to Sam from Indianapolis.
Hi, this is Sam from Indianapolis. I'm listening to your Blackening episode, and your special co-host, I do not like her, talking about this movie, Strays. This is my most anticipated movie of the year. I'm already planning to see it in the theaters at least 3 times. Dog humor is the best humor in the world, and I really hope you guys at least do an episode on Strays. Maybe a double feature. You could watch Air Bud and then Strays. That would be great. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Shots fired.
Yeah, shots fired. Yeah, very good. Good way to cap off this very emotional episode.
Is that where we want to end it?
Corporate IP. This is so fucking weird. What's happening?
All right, maybe we'll answer the rest in a voicemail episode. I don't know how much time you got, but that's Horror Movie Horrors. Love y'all. Thank you for joining us on Horror Movie Talk Plus. And we want to thank our patrons specifically.
Oh, yeah, there's one fella we got to say thank you to Spencer D. Coming in hot with the, he's hopping on one of them high tier pledges. And he's got all the goodies because of it. He's got all the reviews that are Patreon exclusive, which there's like 30 now.
Mm-hmm.
Tons and tons of big movies: Repulsion, Psycho, Mad God, lots and lots and lots of movies up in there. So check it out.
Thanks to Spencer and Gissel. We love our patrons. Keep them coming. We got a lot of great content on there, so go check it out. Please share the podcast with a friend. To be completely honest with you, we've been losing listeners after the format change. So if you still like us, we really need your help to grow organically, and hope that episodes like this fill that out, that we're not just about horror movies. We can talk about movies at large and get deep in there. if you want to go to horrormovietalk.com, if you're going to buy anything on Amazon, there's a button on our website where we'll get a little taste of whatever you buy. So just as an afterthought, do that. We'll see you next time. If you want to call and leave us a voicemail, the number again is 682-253-4468. We'll see you on the flippity floppity.
We love you.
We love you. You are Knuff.
Good day, sir. Good day, sir. You lose. You get nothing. Is that the main cup? Yes, it is.
Just took a stroll through the scraggly woods.
He had no face.
Horror!
Wow, that didn't sound good.